What if I told you that these two CVs are identical, but for 5 formatting changes that took less than 5 minutes to make? I'm Raj, I work as a careers consultant at the University of Cambridge, and in this video, I'm going to explain exactly why they work and show you how you can apply these to your own CV to help you land the interviews that mean most to you. Let's dive in. 1. Spacing. The first thing I notice when I'm reviewing a CV professionally is how spacious or cramped it feels. This is too dense. And look, I get it. I understand the temptation to put lots in your CV, but less is more. Eye tracking software shows areas of greatest interest tend to come after blank space. See, populating a CV isn't like packing a suitcase. It's like putting on an exhibition. Let your words breathe. 2. Alignment. See, for me, the best formatted CVs have 3 imaginary lines where all information is pushed up against. 3 lines work because the recruiter's eyes are not being pulled in loads of different directions, and it also subconsciously communicates they'll find similar information at each specific alignment. This line for headlines, this line for indented bullet points, so for detail, and a third for dates or locations. Simple. Working to just 3 lines makes for a clean looking CV, and this is more obvious when contrasted to, say, a 5-line CV. 3. Fonts. Now, when I was younger, I used to feel like if I could only write my CV with the perfect font, the opportunities would fall from the sky. But alas, dear viewer, such a font does not exist, but there are 2 guiding principles for fonts that you need to know before I reveal my personal favourite font for CVs. 1. Avoid heavily embellished or serif fonts, those with stylistic additions, and opt for the cleaner aesthetic of sans serif fonts. It makes life so much easier for the recruiter who's reading at speed, and it's an effect that's more readily apparent when we look at a whole CV. It's so much easier to read, and recruiters will love you for this. My absolute personal CV font favourite is, drumroll, yes, good old Calibri. It's clean, it's modern, professional, and so easy to read. I love it. And font takeaway number 2, don't include more than 2 fonts on your CV, and ensure the writing is big enough for the reader to be able to comfortably read it. 4. Italics and bold. I see so many CVs fall at this particular hurdle, but the great news is there's really easy fixes once you know a couple of things. First, use bold consistently and sparingly. For consistency, have bold in 1 or an absolute maximum of 2 geographic areas on your CV to avoid the recruiter feeling pulled in different directions, and use it to communicate consistent information. In this case, skills from the job description and dates. And an absolute pro tip, use bold to emphasize things that the recruiter wants rather than what you yourself might want to say. As for italics, honestly, I don't think they have any place on the best formatted CVs. For similar reasons, I wouldn't recommend using serif fonts because they add a layer of visual complexity that just slows the recruiter down, and whether consciously or subconsciously, they're not going to like it. So italics? Nah, don't do it. 5. Consistent sentence lengths and numbers of bullet points per experience. Now, this is a really high-level CV formatting skill because you can't let those 2 consistencies come at the expense of really impactful typewriting. But get it right, and there's immense visual appeal. They feel so balanced, so calm. Whenever I pick up a CV and it just feels right, and I can't put my finger on why, it's almost always because of these consistencies. If you want access to my template, I'm going to go one better and show you exactly how I made mine using nothing more than Microsoft Word, so you can make your very own version. First up, go to Layout, and on Margins, hit the down arrow and select Moderate Margins for now. I'll show you how to fine-tune this in a little bit. Next, set the font size to 18 and Calibri, type your name, hit Return, then set font size to 9 and write your first and second address features. Now, this could be your city and postcode, for example, putting a full stop with 2 spaces before and after each part. Now, these 2 lines feel a little too close together, and there's a neat way to increase spacing. So for those full stops in our line, set the font size to 15, and immediately you can see how this gives more space between lines. Then go up to Insert, Shapes, then choose the second icon for lines. Now drag a line manually across the page around here, then choose the black and slightly thicker line. Right-click on the line and select Format Shape to check it's got a width of 1 point. This is perfect. Next, our first heading is in capitals, but not the next part. And you can put experience here too instead of education. That's totally fine. And crucially, we want to push the date right over to the right-hand side for visual balance and line that up to where our inserted line ends. To fine-tune this and to get the date further out to the right, we'll need to set a custom margin width for the left and right of 1.9 millimeters like this. Then we can push the date further out to the right. Lovely. Bold, bold. And we can insert another line here, black again, but this time with a width of just 0.5, making sure it lines up to our previous line and where our dates end. Then for the body of the text, we want to choose this bullet point, which indents this section. And we can now see the DNA of the 10 out of 10 formatted CV, and you know now how to make it yourself for free. Avoid templates, they constrain you unnecessarily, and avoid graphics and design features, even for design-based roles. They're a distraction to the reader who's reading at speed. Do this while following the 5 principles for perfectly formatted CVs, effective, straightforward approaches to communicating your value, and helping you land the interviews that mean most to you. As ever, I love interacting with your comments, your questions, so please do include them below. I love creating this community with you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being you. I'll catch you next time.